busy this offseason. It started early with acquiring wide receiver DK Metcalf and trading away fellow wideout Jordan Pickens. Then after a long wait, they finally brought in Aaron Rodgers. And now, their latest move saw them trade away Minka Fitzpatrick and trade for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Not unsportsmanlike, weekdays, 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN 2.
There we go.
Andy Michelle's moment of my thumb. Adam Schefter put this Pittsburgh offseason into perspective.
What a crazy, unconventional offseason for the Steelers. They go out and add Aaron Rodgers, Darius Slay, DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith, Jalen. Like, when did your father's Steelers turn into these wheelers and dealers?
No, Kevin Clark and the Steelers lost their way.
No, and I'm surprised by some of the takes, guys, that the Steelers are all in or that they've changed their nature. I don't think they have. They've always relied on players outside the building, giving them the spark. Jerome Bettis was a big trade 30 years ago. Kevin Green, our colleague Ryan Clark was a free agent signing after he went from the Giants to Washington to Pittsburgh. So they've never been purely draft and develop like some of these other teams. So no, I don't think that they don't have void years on a lot of these deals. They're not including first-round picks in future years. They are not all in. They're doing what they're always doing, which is they're trying to be competitive. Every single year, they don't tank. They don't take years off. Omar Khan is obviously the successor to Kevin Colbert, who ran that operation as if he was running the program for 100 years. They're always trying to be competitive, and it's admirable. But no, they're not all in, and they haven't lost their way.
I think when you have to look at the juxtaposition of the 2024 Steelers and the 2025 Steelers, I think they're better. I still think they're the third best team in the division.
Yes.
And, you look at last year, they struggled scoring with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's on the back end of what was a very good career. Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball to DK Metcalf is a material improvement. DK Metcalf is a point scorer. Jonnu Smith will make them better. My concern is the plus 30-year-old players that they acquired. Yep. Aaron Rodgers, Cam Hayward. You also have TJ Watt, and then they added Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey. When you look at it over time, the data isn't in favor of so many plus 30-year-old players. Now, with that said, Mike Tomlin, one of his main superpowers is maybe he modulates camp a little bit to give them a better chance. I think their window is really small. Their path to victory is narrow, but they are better.
They have the most famous bridge quarterback of all time, right? That's what Rodgers is for them.
I think that what we're talking about when it feels like they lost their way, it just feels like them going all in on Aaron Rodgers specifically. Like, that feels un-Steelers like, to go in and not even look at other people and go in on a dude who has not been a good quarterback for half a decade. Like, you mentioned the people that you've been on, the Bettis, the Ryan Clarks. Those felt like home run hits. Those felt like moves that were going to increase that team's potential and their ceiling. Aaron Rodgers, to me, does not move the needle like that. You talk about you add DK Metcalf. I'm not sure that adding those dudes to somebody like Russell Wilson is markedly worse than adding those dudes to somebody like Aaron Rodgers. You're taking a shot on Aaron Rodgers, and you have foregone so much of your offseason order to do this.
I agree with that, but I think they fundamentally made a decision in the first round when they took Derek Carr and didn't draft the quarterback. Now, look, maybe they hit on Will Howard in the 6th round, but I think when you're paying Aaron Rodgers what you're paying him, roughly $12 billion without some of these other incentives, it is a bridge quarterback. It's a band-aid. I think what's really hurt them is the post-Ben Roethlisberger quarterback situation. Yep. And to me, like, Aaron Rodgers, I'm sure what they're sitting there is like, we're not going to get to where we want to go with Russell Wilson. If we catch lightning in a bottle, maybe we do it with Rodgers.
For me, it's not them going in on Rodgers. It's getting Rodgers because they're going all in on their defense and their core, which, as Mike said, is aging. You're not going to get Cam Hayward for that much longer. You're not going to have TJ Watt playing at this level for that much longer. They have probably, along with Philadelphia, the best defensive line in football, okay? They're going all in on that, and what they did was they brought in Aaron Rodgers for an affordable contract, which raises the floor on the offense. They only need to be the 13th or 14th best offense to win double-digit games.
Guys, have you seen Aaron Rodgers last? Aaron Rodgers is a Band-Aid. You rub alcohol on the Band-Aid and then put it on the wound.
You see Mason Rudolph?
But Aaron Rodgers can be so much worse with this team than he could. He may raise the ceiling, but he could also drop that floor on this team so much.
You know what's funny? Like, our good friend Mike Greenberg, also known as Greeny, you can watch him 8 to 10 on ESPN.
Well done, Mike.
He has a great line. He talks about sneaky big news. To me, sneaky big news is Caleb Johnson, 3rd-round running back out of University of Iowa. Yeah, I think he's a player that really fits Arthur Smith's system. If they get him rolling, what's the best friend of a 42-year-old quarterback? A great running game.
They didn't have any options for quarterback. It was just Aaron Rodgers, okay? That's why.
That's not true.
You guys are making Schefter's point, not David. You two. what you just said, that's the Steelers. That's our dad's Steelers. Our dad's Steelers, as Adam pointed out and as David is trying to point out here, is the idea that who's this guy? And the Steelers made him into something that we didn't expect them to be. They don't go out and get named guys. Think about the wide receiver position they've had forever. Did anyone, not you, Mike, because I know you were a general manager, Emmanuel Sanders, Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace, nobody knew who these guys were before they arrived there. You just brought up a guy in the third round of the draft. I don't know who that is. My assumption is because of Mike Tomlin, he's going to be good. That's my Steelers. That's my dad's Steelers. That's the mentality of the Steelers. Now it's just like, oh, I've heard of this guy. I've heard of that guy. Let's go try to create an all-star name team.
There was a stability on offense because of Ben Roethlisberger. That's gone away, and so now the original standard of this whole thing is they made a mistake in the first round. And only Kyle Shanahan can overcome a first-round bust, okay? But Kenny Pickett was not the guy, and now they're papering over that mistake. I do not believe they had many options, okay?
That's fair, but that's what part of the NFL is. It's sort of like you can say to it, you want to like somehow advance and survive.
Yeah.
So like you want to win for today and develop for tomorrow. And I think Aaron Rodgers, if we took away the name and the legacy, he is a bridge quarterback at this point, and albeit we'll see what he has left. But again, maybe it's Will Howard, maybe it's next year's first-round pick. But I think Aaron Rodgers, when they looked at the chessboard, said, well, we're not going to beat Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, or Russell Wilson. Let's take a shot.
There's a reason I work so many summer Fridays. It's because these shows don't have a lot of options that are stuck with me. I'm the Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, all right. You know, sometimes I have compared to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think like the problem with the Band-Aid thing is that this franchise is in such flux right now.
Yeah.
Are we sure that Tomlin is going to be back on the other side of this Band-Aid? Like we're already talking about last year. Are they tired of Tomlin? What's going on with that? If I'm Mike Tomlin, I know the Steelers should never move on from him. If I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm wondering why I should stay with the Steelers organization when I have carried you guys to playoffs year after year, and you have the nerve to look at me and say I may not be, my message may be getting stale with this team, and then you're going to bring Aaron Rodgers in my locker room. This is a level of instability. If this thing goes wrong, that I have not seen from the Steelers in my lifetime.
I understand part of your point, but I'm part of the think that Aaron Rodgers would be there if Mike Tomlin wanted.
He said he runs the show in Pittsburgh.
That's the whole point. Mike Tomlin, who is a first ballot Hall of Fame coach, has gotten to a point where he wanted Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
That's where these are not your dad's Steelers. Your dad's Steelers are getting Mason Rudolph out of the playoff
It's
team.
pragmatic. If we were running the Steelers, and we know that Russell Wilson isn't going to be the quarterbacks in our division, what would you like to do?
Well, you could have kept Justin Fields.
I don't.
You could have kept Justin Fields.
First of all, he wanted to leave.
You just contradicted yourself. You just said that Mike Tomlin is first ballot Hall of Fame.
He is.
If he was around Justin Fields every day, he could have kept him if he thought he was the guy.
That's fair. I also would have made an offer that Matthew Stafford could not refuse.
You just went for Justin Fields.
You're asking a question. What do I do? I answer the question. Coming up, Coco Gauff became just the third woman in the Open era to lose in the first round at Wimbledon. Her reaction after was eye-opening. We'll react next.
Did we get the chemistry?
Chào tất cả mọi người, bây giờ mình sẽ đến với mọi người làm quả bóng.